it's December. We're kind of waiting for Michael. He probably went off to do something because I was busy, and I just realized I'm gonna have to get a third dog bed for the dog that is whining this morning. So I have some things about Flower to talk about. So I'm pretty excited about that. And it's kind of an interesting story. I'll tell you what, right now, she is wild, wild and crazy. Not crazy. She's actually not crazy at all. Here's Michael. Good morning.
We be live.
We are live now. Uh, let's see. So my
I'm
old dog
put
is
together here. Just
what?
noticed. I said, make sure I'm put together here. The
Yeah,
collar's all up,
yeah. We're
So, go ahead.
yeah. I know. It's always tricky this time of year. My poor dog. Oh my gosh. We have two dogs that are, coming towards the end here. So, um, we'll see. It's always hard, isn't it?
A lot of animals you've lost in the last while.
Yeah, I know. Really. Good morning, Julie. Julie, I was kind of expecting to hear a little bit more from you regarding the levels. So, anyway, but Michael, I have Flower.
See?
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, just sort of an update. And then yeah, so then the levels. It was funny that you were working off the old list. I should have
How
reminded.
different was it? Not terribly different. There's a few items on, few items off.
Yeah.
I have a few clarification or like suggestions. Sorry, it took me a bit to get to like actual feedback. Hopefully, it doesn't
Oh, yeah, no,
frustrate you in its lateness.
like this. Um in
What?
its thickness. Let me get my iPad so I can write them down.
Wait, I missed the body language there. You are frustrated with the lateness?
Not really. I'm teasing. Yeah. So, if you want to talk about that, or if there's something else, that steady pressure thing was very interesting, and very interesting to me that that was kind of both of the deal. Um, Especially like what keeps striking me. So, you guys, we're talking about just really simply being able to yield the forequarters and yield the hindquarters from like steady pressure. I've done it both ways with my hands and like with a carrot stick or horsemanship stick. Pat Pirelli used to call it the porcupine game. Also, Bill Dorrance just talked about steady pressure in his book. So anyway, it's something I haven't done for a really long while that way, and so I was just surprised that it definitely needed to be touched on, especially since it really doesn't take that much to fix it up. But I guess it's one of those things that unless you just attend to it, it
I
is
think
not.
that how many things are that way though.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like if you don't attend to them, like there's the kind of the things you do every day, just interacting with your horse or kind of some quick groundwork checking things out. But there might be bunches of little things that you don't do real regularly. Um, that can come together very quick. But if you're not um, kind of keeping tabs on them or checking them out, you
Yep.
might go, "Oh man, that's not working so well." Um,
That's I was thinking.
but it shapes up real quick as soon as
That's
you
right.
you spend a little time on it. So it's kind of good to have reminders of going back to certain pieces. But yeah, the steady pressure is interesting. Julie asked steady pressure as opposed to what, and the answer there would be rhythmic pressure. But that's kind of something I've thought about for a while, but um, just messing around with that yesterday with Rooster. is how much I feel like steady pressure and rhythmic pressure really on their core start out in the same spot, because even with steady pressure, there's so little pressure. Um, it is more just an intention, right? So let's just say, okay, I'm gonna have to dance around this a little bit to get to what I'm trying to say. Well, let's say using your legs, right? When you're riding. Okay, when you initially use your leg, you are not pressing into the horse, but you aren't rhythmically bumping either. There's an energy, life up in your body. That's theoretically steady pressure, but also rhythmic pressure because it has an energy to it, right? So your leg comes in with that energy. Is it steady or is it rhythmic? But as you use your leg further, if you use rhythmic pressure to support it all the time, um, what happens in support of that initial request only ever being rhythmic, there's kind of a spot there where they won't know what to do potentially with a steady pressure. And that's what, moving over with my hand. Yeah, I guess it depends on the proximity. When you're like, I get what you're saying, because like you can have rhythmic pressure from a great distance away, and that's very different from steady pressure, wherein you kind of need
Well,
to be close. But you can have rhythmic pressure in close. Um,
my
I don't know.
big reason I made the face is because I don't know for sure if I think of a feel as pressure at all. Honestly, I'd have to think about it a little bit more, but on the face of it, I would say no. And excuse me for one more second here. You. Oh, sorry, you guys. Actually, I think we're good. Yeah.
Well, so then you offer. So let's just modify it a little bit. You offer a feel, steady pressure or rhythmic pressure in terms of your follow up. Let's say, how different is the feeling coming from you in terms of the energy, at a distance or in closer? Um, how different is that feeling except for proximity, right? I don't know.
I,
To me, it feels like energy coming up in me, whether it be energy located more in my hand than my whole body, regardless, it has the same kind of presence to it that um, that is there before it becomes pressure.
yeah, I would.
So if you want to say a feel is not pressure, which I agree, right? It's just communication. It's just like we're moving together in time and space. Um,
We could just be together. We don't even have to be moving together. We could just be together, and that's on a feel. And you don't necessarily have to, this is my opinion, you don't necessarily have to add pressure of any kind to be able to go together wherever you want. So I would say when we move into pressure, even if it's very subtle, then that's a guide towards getting in the middle together. At which point there is no, I mean, that's kind of important, really, because then we're
there,
not.
so there is no pressure until the horse, and that's essentially what I'm saying. Until the horse is not following that feel, then pressure might show up. But if you just walk right through the hindquarters with intent to walk in that line and the horse drifts away, or you just like lightly touch their hip with intention over against touch their hip petting them, and nothing more needs to happen and they just kind of float away, well, there's feel and you're just
Mhm.
flowing together. But if you're follow through, and I guess this is the point, following that feel of just being and flowing together, if your follow through is always rhythmic pressure, if they're not moving the rectangle or within the rectangle in the way you have in mind, that steady pressure can be like, what does that follow through mean? And it can almost lock them up a little bit. Like, why are you pushing? Um,
Yeah,
so
it
I
does
guess
lock them up.
that's what
That's
I was saying. The same thing you just said. Well, feel isn't pressure. What I have thought for a while, like years and years ago, is how different is the beginning of steady pressure and the beginning of rhythmic pressure. They really both originate or start in the same place, which is feel. And then you could say further, as you just did, that feel is not necessarily that in and of itself isn't pressure, need not be pressure if the horse is responding. So,
mhm.
and I guess that's maybe just calling you back to using rhythmic pressure or using steady pressure. You better make sure you're offering a good deal, even when you're, um,
And it goes beyond, it goes beyond offering a good deal. And there's even one layer back from that.
yeah, because offering a good deal still implies some
Mhm,
need for request.
mhm. Need for clarification, yeah.
You know,
Yeah, for sure. Um that's those are all kind of important things. And also something that would I was thinking of, as I posted in the challenge groups that I'm going to do like a Facebook course, run like a level 1 course that probably is going to be nice for people to have to go alongside the horsemanship challenge. So I posted that in the horsemanship challenge, and I'll give them the list. If someone wants to PM me, then I'll give them the level 1 list, the haltered list. But I was thinking, well, what's the difference? What's is there a difference? And of course there's a difference in terms of what's on the list, but also there's so much that should be wrapped around it that
oh, hold
colors
on.
it.
I usually track with you and wonder if everyone else is tracking the way I am. But what do you mean? What is the difference between haltered and loose, or what? You just back up a second and say what you're saying again.
Just the difference between how you get to the things on the list, how
Okay,
you're doing your horsemanship,
sure.
how you're practicing. Like, do you think that everything you're doing is via pressure release going towards a treat? Or do is there a feel there that is not quote unquote phase 1? It's not
Mhm.
phase 1. There's something before that.
Yeah.
And so all of those things are very important if you are going to apply, or if you are going to move through this list the way that I would, or the way that you would. And it's kind of one of the things I was hoping we could talk about this morning is like how your feelings about having this list have evolved. And and then, like, I just think it's sort of interesting to think about. I mean, having a list separate to all the caveats is important. And then if you want all the caveats to say, okay, well, I want the qualities that you're getting, well, then we have to have another discussion on top of that. By the way, um, are you guys tracking with what we're saying in terms of before you add any kind of pressure, or you could say even suggestion? I mean, you could even say before a cue, if you're going to say, oh, I use cues and then I use food, as a reinforcement, or whatever. Even before the cue, is there a feeling of you just going together? And the reason it's difficult to talk about is, quite honestly, most people don't have not experienced that. Probably, if we just take large numbers, most people have not experienced that. I personally experience that much more infrequently than I prefer. So there's only so much, I suppose, that we should that we need to talk about it. But just back to the list, real quick, and your comment about, like, it's not that hard to do, but you still need to do it.
Yeah.
That is the thing that struck me the most, is if there is a list and you're like, oh, I better check that, I better do this, I better just make sure I can do blah blah blah. And that would be, I was thinking about that in terms of, should I bother running a Facebook course? Should I not? Is that valuable? Because of course the insiders will have all those videos, but um I think it is valuable because it kind of sets deadlines and a parameter and, like, a group of people that you're doing it with to actually check things off, like to actually go through it and do it. And so you follow me, Michael? The like the steady pressure, move the forequarters, move the hindquarters off, a feeling, like an actual feeling from your hands, or a stick, or whatever you, I mean, a manure fork, I guess, if you want to do something like that, whatever. Good luck having lots of feel with that. Um,
I I would even say off a stick.
sure.
I I hate I hate the porcupine game that way. I hate steady pressure with a stick. It just doesn't.
But I'll tell you what,
What's weird is I can, yeah.
it is a different, like, you should check it. This is my experience. Like, to really be like, hey, move off of this. For instance, like with Feather, being close to her, and having, like, because I mean, how close are you really? I mean, I'm 6 to 10 inches away or something like that. So she can move, but when I stood back a little bit with the stick and push, she's like just leaned on it, and which maybe I would want her to do that. It's a legitimate thing for her to think. If I tied her off to a cow, and wanted her to keep pressure on it, like, that's a thing. I don't want her to give to that pressure, right? So it's perfectly legitimate for her to think that. And then for her to change her mind was a big deal. And I'm just saying that there was a difference between when I was using my fingers close to her
Mhm.
and using a stick 3 feet away. Difference, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
behind
And
that. Oh,
it I suppose my distaste for that was largely in my application of it years back doing
okay.
that. So it'll be interesting. I'll try it now, to see if it can feel different, which I imagine it can. Because that, to me, what if you say, what are your feelings about the list now that you've sat with it for a while and messed around? Is, you know, coming to it with a horse that you have that feeling between you of just kind of moving together and um not needing to really apply pressure, and just that connection to go through the list and go, just kind of have fun with it, to where it's like, oh yeah, I click that off, and like a to be like, it's it's kind of cool how easy so much of this is, because I remember years back when the basic stuff like that not only wasn't easy necessarily, but was crudely accomplished when accomplished, right? And so now for it to be um, fairly or quite polished in accomplishing it, and easily so, um, was just kind of a cool, like, you know, and I think that's part of it. Like earlier, I think there was so much being stuck myself, but certainly folks I was helping and folks that I wasn't helping, but that I observed stuck because they were focused on the list rather than the feel and the quality that got you to where moving through the list is easy, or moving up the list, down the list, however. Your list should have level one at the bottom, right?
Hmm.
But according to Bucks, start at the bottom of the list, which I always thought was a little bit funny.
It just doesn't look right on a piece of
Yeah,
paper because you read
I
a
know.
book up to down, so it just it should be Maslow's hierarchy sort of a thing, but it doesn't look right on
Yeah.
a list. Um, yeah, it's
In
kind of
in
funny.
any in any case, because that's what I would stress,
It,
years back, is like if you wanted now do this item further down the list, particularly with Pirelli level deal where it's like, okay, now we're doing things at 22 feet and 45 feet and getting that distance is like, if you're struggling to get things on a feel at 10 feet, 12 feet, like, and you're having to add a bunch of pressure at that point, given the distance, usually rhythmic pressure, forget about it when it's further away. Like, just absolutely forget about it. Or you're going to be beating your head against the wall and the horse is going to be frustrated and you're just so I would stress that, but I didn't at that point necessarily even have enough information or certainly the skill to have the quality, even though I knew that's what I needed, and I knew I needed a kind of next level of um, responsiveness and connection and lightness and all of that in close for it to work further out. Um, I still didn't have the detail enough to accomplish that,
mhm, mhm.
in close. So, but once you do, the list kind of becomes pretty easy to click right through. And those things, like you said, steady pressure that I haven't spent time with, particularly, you know, moving the hindquarters, um, really didn't take that much time. It was just like, oh, we haven't touched on this, we haven't worked on this, so like let's feel this out. Or sideways down the fence, Rooster was like, and I wasn't really on the fence. I was kind of away from the fence, but whereas truly we're going forward just enough to
Cross
cross
the front.
over in front,
Mhm.
and where I'd block, he'd be like, "Oh, I can't go forward." So just that, not forward, and that's why I was doing it off the fence because the fence was just getting in my way, which I've always kind of felt that. So
Yeah, it's a
that
great.
was one of my questions to how you have that item on the list, is I feel like it's better done away from a fence. But
And if you guys want the list right now, you can message me on Facebook. I'll send you the level one list, I think. I hope I have it on here. Maybe I should check just real quick. Yeah, that's a really good point. I've been thinking about that too, Michael.
because
Uh,
there has to be enough room to go forward, and it to me it requires the balance in the feel, and this is what Rooster had to figure out. It's like, oh, we are staying sideways with very minimal forward,
mhm.
but when I blocked, saying not so much forward, move, it's more lateral, then he would want to, oh, is it back? It's like, no, it's not back. Um, but when we were against the wall, it was just, and I remember this from years ago. It's like hard to get smooth because they're like crashing into the wall, and the wall doesn't have that play and give for them to figure it out, which I guess some would say is, in some cases, very much starting out. Like maybe that is helpful because it's a concrete barrier or a wood barrier or whatever in front of them to, um,
A clear and steady barrier, yeah.
yeah.
But here's the thing: if you go to a coach, like if someone were to go to you or someone were to come to me and be like, "Hey, can you help me? I'm working through my level one." Um, then the way that I would teach it is not at first against the wall, but if you're meaning like exactly as you're saying, maybe a little bit of, but if you're checking it off a list or if you're practicing it at home, you need to know if your horse is going sideways down a wall. Eventually, you know what I mean? It's kind of like being able to do
If you
shoulders.
can't visualize the line, yeah,
Yeah, like doing shoulders in versus I'm doing
it's a
leg,
leg yield. Hmm.
sort of. You're like, are you though? you know, it's like, so,
And that would be worth clarifying for sure.
but where would you clarify
I
it?
don't know.
I
I
think
don't know.
it's like, well, I'm not saying you can
And
just.
that and that again is the challenge with the list, is the list sorry. The list is devoid of all of the details. It's on the person to go through and go, okay, well, I want this much quality, or the person generating this list has in mind this much quality. Because as you move along the list, if you don't have the quality, it's just mucking around, ending up with shit. So it's like, okay, go down the wall. And like, I first did that. I'm like, this is not the way to do this. Like, this is not going to help my horse figure this out. Come off the wall. Now it's clearer and he can search around for it. But like as you just described it, okay, yeah, I can see the wall then gives you that visual, like you said, similar to a shoulders in, um, over against the leg yield. Fair enough, I can see that. And I'll mess around with that and kind of have that be a test as he's like, oh, okay, I know exactly what you mean. Um, I feel like I can visualize that line and mark that line pretty well, but any case, check it out on a wall. But if the list says down a wall and then you try to work on it down the wall,
Yeah, but
I
if
don't know.
you're gonna wave
Because
your flag up and down, your horse is scared of the flag. It's like you still need to learn how to get through that. And so
yeah,
there's an element of some people are gonna know how to just burn through it, and some people need to take a course or get a coach a little bit.
yeah,
That's okay. What's wrong with that? I mean, I think chasing a list, because a list is different than a course.
yeah.
A course can be built, or a class or a lesson can be built around um, a list
Ask her.
of some sort, but that doesn't necessarily. I think it's. I don't think that's. I don't think that's required of a list. That's
Yes.
wait, and you
It'd
got.
be interesting though to go through the list and think about which items.
Is Michelle here this morning? Let's ask her because she's never really come in contact with a groundwork um list like that. Steady pressure as opposed to what?
That's
Uh,
what they asked.
sorry, driving pressure. I'm glad you're seeing them, Michael, because I'm not. So you have to read them out loud. The thing about driving pressure is the response to driving pressure. We're talking about, with understanding without fear, right?
Yeah.
Because if people get them like spooking away from something, or
I think it is hard, and this is where it's good, like you say, Michelle. What's your
yeah, she's here,
take?
so she's
Yeah.
gonna. She goes by
Uh,
Brenda. I don't know, but yeah.
so, um, because It is, even though I've been teaching this for years, it is still hard to put yourself in the spot of not of like where is someone who doesn't know any of it and what is the real order of adapting these things.
Hmm.
If you broke it down to like you have like completely in order, right? Like when I'm teaching, there is an order to it, but it's not, I guess I don't have a list of the order of which to teach each of the items on the list, right?
Yeah, yeah. I basically do have it in order, like the level one list. You guys can message me
No,
anything.
not the list, but like even pick any item on the list. There is um, steps to figuring out how to do that, right? That would be covered in a course or would be covered in a lesson.
Yeah, read what Corey said real quick, and
Okay.
then Michelle will answer your question.
So first, Lisa said, nothing about any of this is easy. List or no list, wall or no wall. Touche. Got it. Agreed.
It's
Uh,
fine. You guys are here to say that.
so
Keep saying.
Michelle was wanting clarification on the question, your question for her, and she did say I would need a course for the groundwork list. And then Corey added, the list is a guide and the coach helps determine the splits. The splits are the pieces or parts that you break down into in order to get to the final behavior on the list.
Also, like, so how would you describe that as the troubleshooting? Because every horse is different,
Mhm.
based on their innate characteristics, but also their lived experience, and
What
your relationship with
I
them.
don't have the list in front of me, but a good example similar to sideways.
I have the list.
I know you do.
The level one list. Look, you guys, it's so pretty.
So, good example to get a 4/4 yield, you need some measure of a fairly good quality backup in order to say, it's not go forward. Whether you're doing sideways and relying on the wall or not relying on the wall or just asking for a 4/4 yield, to do a hindquarter yield, sometimes you need, particularly if your horse has learned to pivot on a front foot, you really need a pretty quality forward and around in order to say, not like that.
There are always ingredients.
I know, but I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying.
Me either.
I'm saying what Corey's saying. You know, there are splits, but I think
Slices too. Some people call them slices.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm. I call them ingredients.
the splits for one horse could be different from those of another horse. I need a coach for those nuances.
And Michelle said she would need a course. Good. You can take the course. Yeah. Well, she rides with me like every week, so there's that.
There, there is insider speak in that too that we either use on the show or as part of your um, language explaining things in the insider and all that that needs clarification beyond just handing someone the list because that was Stephanie's first comment on the list is like I don't even know what some of this means, you know, like what's
Which
ABC, what's 1 2 3, what's steady pressure like Julie just said, you know. So
that's right, and that's
yep.
okay.
Hmm.
That's what the list should do. It should This is my opinion. The list should provide um a checklist for you to go through, like a set of things that add up from a starting point to an ending point. It should help you ask questions, like exactly what's the ABC, what's the 1 2 3, what a steady pressure, like, should help you to ask questions. That's very cool and important. Anybody would do that on the same if they looked like through the dressage list or I don't know, one of those ranch trail patterns, like you might have questions, right? And then this is the thing that I said to Michael yesterday. I said, I think it's anti value to get a hold of a list and just go through it, prioritizing it, getting as far and as fast as you can, irregardless from everything else. That would be a detriment. If you can't control yourself, don't even look at the list. But here's the value of having the list that you can see where your holes are. For instance, Michael and I are pretty far along. And for us to both be like, oh, me in particular, to be like, oh, that's a hole. I would like to fill that hole. Did it take me long? No. But was it important to see it and fill it? Yes.
Yeah.
And that's very valuable. And then, but it's not just like fill it as this is my opinion, for me, don't just fill it as shittily as I can and then be like, go on to the next thing, like some sort of psycho, you know? It's like go to therapy or something if you can't control yourself at least a little bit because you
Well,
have
right.
to, you
Yeah.
have, well, but here's the thing, and this is an important nuance. It's like every person has to decide, like, this is where I'm at. This is best as I can do for right now. I'm going to move on. Or I know I could do this better, but I don't care. I'm going to go to the next thing. And it's like, okay, that's on you. That's on you. If you know that's the honor system, right? If you know that if you chipped away at it a little bit more and thought about it a little bit more and tried a little harder, you could get it better. And if you decide to be like, I don't that doesn't matter to me, that's on you. And you probably, like most of us, will come back to it later and be like, actually, I do care about the value of that, the quality of that. So there has to be some adult, measure of that because we should all be able to sit with ourselves and be honest with ourselves. Like, what am I doing here? Can you read that for me, Michael?
Chelsea said, I'm so excited for there to be a list to inspire questions I might not know to ask or puzzle pieces I don't know I'm missing. It's a way to connect dots and fill holes.
And that's the value of it. Like that is the reason for it. Not just for you guys, for me. I have a lot of horses. So I probably could memorize exactly where I am with one horse or two horses, but I've really done this in my journaling every morning with all the different horses, but making a list that I can just look at and be like, "Oh, here's where we are. Here's where we are," and it'll be really handy for me to video it with horses too, just because that really causes you to kind of do it and to look at your quality. Some people are going to have a harder time looking at the quality that they have in the moment. I care a lot less about that. Like some people feel like they have to do it 40,000 times for it to look like buck or something like that. And I don't care about that personally. I just, I need to do what I can and where my horse is at. And that's that. And yes, I'm moving towards the ideal, but that doesn't mean I have to render the ideal today. I'm not quitting
And that
horsemanship.
that is a very difficult um, needle to thread in. Like I think Mike said that he told you when you guys were chatting about it is when Buck says, "Well, that's good enough," it's like, well, is that good enough for right now? Is that good enough for forever? Like, what part of that is good enough? Will it,
Is it just good enough for me? Is it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So
I've
like
checked.
learning to trust yourself, because this is a question I get all the time is, and that I ask myself all the time, like, what is the good enough for right now? What will have this carry? Um, how much is the horse confirmed in it and understanding it? Where is it good to just leave it at the first thought? You know, um,
Welcome to
what-
horsemanship.
exactly. But I think in terms of moving through items on a list, particularly if you get a little carried away with, I'm just going to check these things off, or some bent toward that a little bit, then it can become, well, this is enough quality. I don't know, leave that part out. But okay, so go toward the opposite bent. Someone who's like, I'm gonna get it perfect, right? It's gonna look good, particularly before I'd video it and send it to anyone, right? I can't say I've checked it off until it's like 100% consistent all the time. And I leave it for a week and I come back and it's just there without ever needing to, you know. So you can kind of have two extremes there, neither of which I think are really helpful. Um, well, definitely neither of which are helpful. So there there needs to be some reflection and personally on, and probably some guidance on what is good enough and what, before you're like trying to do the next thing and then being real stuck on the next thing, or um what is getting bogged down because you're trying to get it too perfect, and expanding what you're working on and letting that shape up to what your end result would be is the better tack than getting too focused on, say these two items that are holding you, hanging you up because they're not as good as you'd like them to be to pass your standard or what you imagine the standard is generally, or whatnot. So I think that's an important thing to consider, um, and maybe even mention in a course of like, be aware of these things. So
All right. Again, welcome to horsemanship.
just saying, I think it's a
All right, what?
worthwhile
What?
discussion for people to not
You're
just have in their heads, but to have acknowledged and have some thoughts on in a discussion like this or in a course like that
right.
around it.
That's right.
Right.
I totally agree. Mhm. Well, like I said, welcome to horsemanship. I mean, that's a question that you're going to ask every single day. Should be.
Hmm. Yep.
Even I imagine even someone like that has a lot of experience, like Gary or Buck or I don't know, whoever is riding super fancy horses in any discipline. You're always that's going to cross your mind, especially because every horse is an individual. So that's not it's not a function of a list or not a list.
Yeah.
Can you read those,
So
please?
defensive. I'm not saying it's a function of the list or not a list.
I agree with you.
Okay.
Even saying,
Julie said, I see the list like a skeleton. We all have the same 260-ish bones, but we're filled in uniquely, so none of us look exactly the same. So our unique horse person combo using the same list will not look the same as everyone else's.
yeah, yeah, sort of.
Certainly the process.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing, Julie, you're of course you're not wrong. But like if we say we're running, you might be running and I might be running, and it's like, yeah, that's going to look different, but either we're running or we're not. Y- You know, that's the only thing. It's like I'm sure that's just what
So
pops into my mind. For
the
instance, one
equivalent, what you're saying is, our body style might be different on a horse or physical ability based on age or whatnot. might have our hindquarter yield or forequarter yield looking a certain way or our transitions, but are we making that transition to the best of our ability, or are we just mucking it out?
That's correct. And that's absolutely correct. And when I was making the list, that is one of the criteria for me. It was, is this clearly definable? Now, someone might not know the definition of, for instance, the ABC or the one, two, three, but it is clearly definable. And then once you know the definition, that's that. Because the list shouldn't be a subjective. I really wanted it to be objective, measurable. Like, how many times I just used the two examples as people that, we've been around in Buck Brannaman land for the last, you know, 13 years or whatever it's been. Either you can do a four-quarter yield or you can't. And if you're going to move to the Hackamore and you can't even do a four-quarter yield, I mean, that's your choice, but you kind of are skipping things. That's just all there is to it. Why are you skipping it? And then I've had people say, "Also, my horse can't do it, blah, blah, blah." It's like, no, it's that you haven't learned to do it yet. Every horse can do it. That's why it's on the list. Unless you have a lame horse, and then you maybe have to decide what you're doing in that case. But before the horse was lame, they could have done it. Or another one is flying changes. Either you're doing flying changes or you're not. And people doing slip changes think, even if the person thinks they're doing flying changes, is not actually doing flying changes. This is not like, well, this is my version of a flying change. No, that's a slip change. Right. And if you're like, oh, I'm making an upward transition to trot, and you're like, nope, because your horse is still walking in four beats. Or pacing or something. Like, no, no, no. Trot is trot. So these are important things that we can at least have places to stand on. So I don't know, Julie, if that's what you meant. I mean, I know you know what we're talking about here, but that's just an important, that's kind of important actually, because when we commit to a list like this is, the Horsemanship Insider Partnership Pathway, or I'm doing Buck's Bridle Horse deal, I'm following the Red Book, or whatever list we're doing, it's like that, or that is the deal. Now, what kind of quality, what kind of feel, what kind of how much your horse really understands it, how much your contentment you have, like, of course, but that's the game of horsemanship. That's the process. Anyone can learn what's on the list, and it's actually really not that hard. It does take time to learn how to accomplish those things. For instance, if I gave any one of you guys a horse that knew it all, it wouldn't take you but 6 months to get through everything. 'Cause you're not teaching the horse to. This isn't hard to accomplish. But all the things that you were talking about, how much is enough, when is it good enough, what are the ingredients, what is the feel, what, is my horse happy about it, am I moving towards something or only away, like, that's what we're doing for the rest of our lives, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh my gosh, speaking of bones, Julie, so I tripped. I had a loop in one of the strings from my hay bale, and I tripped and fell on my right shoulder. Good to go. Does a broken one, my collarbone. So I was so proud. I'm like, okay.
I
So
tried to cut my finger off the other day. I don't know if you've noticed this has popped into the.
no, what'd you do?
Day before Thanksgiving, decided that a project that's been undone or partially done for over a year, I wanted to have it done by Thanksgiving. So it's cutting electrical wire with a knife that was not ideal for cutting this particular wire. It was a fairly It's an underground wire for so it's more sturdy than your typical household wire, and knife slipped, sliced to the bone. So, fun. But,
Like,
any case,
but it will. You have it all.
I have it all, yes. It was glued for about a week. The glue just came off this morning, so it's still sort of open and not entirely healed. I think I should have done stitches rather than glue, but whatever. Uh,
You glued it yourself.
no, I did actually go in. I couldn't get the bleeding to stop. I was hoping to glue it myself, but it just it was
Well, at
gushing.
least you have all of it. That's nice.
I have all of it, and it doesn't. It hurt like crazy at first, but now it's pretty good.
Nice.
Good. Speaking of injuries, Michelle said a slip change. Is that a simple change? Yes.
Yeah,
Although uh,
but not
it's
really
like a
for
skip
that
change.
walk. Yeah. So
Not really what?
not for all four steps of walk, which
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what I would call a simple change. Is dropping all the way to trot or dropping all the way to walk. But a slip change is not is like just barely changing leads, but not flipping the diagonal pair. That is a flying change. One diagonal pair to the other diagonal pair is a flying change.
No.
So
And then Julie said, yes, trot is trot, tibia is tibia. My tibia is the same shape and function as Michael's, but it's only like half the size.
excellent point. Yes, yes, yes. Very true. That's why a passage on Vivian is not going to necessarily look the same to some eyes as on Vallegro. May he rest in peace. hmm It's so cute that Vallegro had like everyone referred to him as Vallegro when he was competing, but his barn name was Blueberry. So then after he retired, he was just Blueberry. So cute. It's so hard to lose him. Yeah. So I, I mean, I guess I don't know what else to say about that. I'm really anxious for you guys to start like using the list, filming the list, like actively getting in there and don't be scared. Just go for it. You have plenty of support to find out. You know, if you have a question, you should. I'm not saying you should automatically know all these things, especially if you're not part of our gang. There's a curriculum. There are some things to learn. Some of them are going to automatically make sense, and some of them aren't. And look, I cannot go through every single one on all my horses, but that's okay. Who cares? That's what I'm doing. Yeah, trust me, you guys. Those of you that have known me for a long time, the horses that know it all get put up. And Michael, as Flower, I'm in this emergency situation with Flower. Um, because she's growing into her tag. Like it is like this is has to happen, right? I have time enough to do it horseman like, but if I cannot do it in the next 3 weeks, let's say, really should be in the next week, can kind of make it work in the next 2 weeks, but in 3 weeks, I will have to dart her. Okay. So I have a certain amount of time to get it done horseman-like. Um, but I still have to decide what the ingredients are. I still have to decide how I'm going to go through this. I'm making these decisions every single day and chipping away at it in a manner that will add up to the result that I need.
Mhm.
Like I look at it, I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to like make this happen. And then she hit this growth spurt, and I'm like, oh shit. And if the growth spurt isn't over, like I have less days, you know. It's so interesting. And it's good for me to be under pressure. This is what I was going to refer to. Is I was out there with her yesterday, and I mean I really want this to happen, obviously. But if I have to dart her, I won't. It's going to be the talk of the town, of course, but I don't care.
Scandalous.
What?
Scandalous.
Yes, it would be totally scandalous. But I don't care. Um, I would do it anyway. I really wish she wouldn't care. It's like, well, you do it then, under all the circumstances that have. Anyway, doesn't matter. I am not too proud to do it. Is my point. If that is the best thing for the horse, and we do have a way out. I don't have to just shoot her or something like that. But I think it's going to work. I'm pretty sure that, given all the parameters that we're setting up now and the time I have and all that, yeah, it's gonna work. But what I was just thinking is like the fun and like the dopamine, the satisfaction that I get being in a situation where I have to stretch as far as I can stretch and be better as much as I can be better moment to moment, day by day, and not for sure knowing it's going to work out. Like pretty sure, but not for sure. Like I love that compared to, yeah, my horse can do all the things. It's like, now what? Right? This is my point. This is what we're doing. What's the problem? Unless you have a situation like, okay, there's some minimums so we can take care of our horses and ourselves. So I was thinking about that too. It's like, because it's kind of funny. It's amazing how many suggestions a person can get. Just do this, just do that. Well, you should do this, you should do that. This isn't going to work unless you do this. And it's like, oh, I mean, that's fine that you're telling me is unsolicited advice. I'm not going to be mad at you. Not too much anyway. But it's on me to decide how I want to do it. And the reason is I'm going to pay the price. So I have to keep myself safe. That's my priority, number one. Number two, I want to keep my animal safe. Number three, I want to find something that is rewarding to my horse, animal. That's the three things I have to do. When you have that, you can do anything. But you just don't want to take some random shortcut and sacrifice those things. Now, you can make a mistake. Everybody can make a mistake. But is it an honest mistake, or is it that you took a shortcut you shouldn't have taken? That's the part that's harder to live with, you know? And the finding something rewarding, there's a whole group of people that would say, "Oh, just use treats, just use food, just." Yes, I realize that that is something that most animals find rewarding. Yes, you don't have to tell me that over and over again. Clearly, there is a reason that I'm hunting for something else. But it's like hearing it over and over. It's like, you guys really think that I didn't know that? Like, how many times do I have to be told? Just you. This is. You're like, oh gosh, okay. It's kind of an interesting deal. But my point
I'll
being,
text I'll text Kip later and tell him, dude, leave off or back off telling her to use treats.
it's so nice that Kip knows so much. It's so nice, because I mean that it just could not be a better situation. Seriously, it's so nice. Um, but my point, you guys, is this is the fun of it. So long as you're safe, this is the fun of it. So no need to rush through a list. There are pressure, like this particular situation is kind of high pressure, but ideally, don't put yourself in that kind of a bind. you know. Um, really not the best. I probably wouldn't have done it for myself, you guys. I mean, it's probably good in the end, gonna work out that it'll be like, well, that kind of pressure was good for me. Um, but I wouldn't necessarily do it without a better setup next time, because it is a bit of an emergency. So I will have more to
What
report.
what what would be a better setup?
A safe round pen that really, if things got, because she was really wild. So any kind of little safety thing was a major concern.
Safety thing, meaning for her
Like,
feeling safe?
no, but like, Feather kind of hashed on Debbie's round pen a couple of years ago, and it's been there for a long time. And she was planning on working on it this year, and then my animals ended up in it. So there are a few safety things just down low, like, anyway. I mean,
But how
stuff,
the way
the
you're
rope could get.
approaching it, why is that? I mean, why don't
If
you
I
just
had roped
pick a
her the
wire
first
one?
day, if I had roped her the first day, like, she would have tried to climb out. She would have
Oh,
tried to
but
climb
you
some.
didn't want to. That's not part of what you wanted to do. Like
That's
even if you had a sturdy round
Yeah,
corral,
but at a certain
7 feet
point,
tall.
yeah, but at a certain point, she does need to get roped. At a certain point, she is going to need a halter on her. At a certain point, she is going to even feather. When I clipped my 60-foot lap rope onto her tag, she ran around once. I flipped the loop over her hindquarters and got her to yield. But if the animal it's taken me this long. This is the point. It's taken me this long to tone her down enough that now it's not going to be such a meltdown that she hurts herself.
I guess what I'm wondering though is if you had a sturdier round corral, like what else? Because it doesn't.
The
From what
tag,
you said before, you didn't want to throw a rope on her any
the tag,
sooner, and you don't really want to do it now.
the tag.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
but you said, oh, so what would need to be different if you got another one with the tag? Because it's not just the tag. The tag is what's pressing the timeline right now. But you said if the situation were different, you'd be toward the
But like,
tag
I
sooner right now.
have the animal at home so I could do multiple sessions a day. I would have, a round pen that was like the ultimate perfect, deal, which, again, it's kind of my fault that this situation is from a couple of years ago. It's nobody's fault but mine, really. But like with Feather, it was no big deal. With Revlon, it was no big deal because they weren't that wild. There's a reason at the BLM pins, they're not 6 foot fences, they're 10-foot fences. There's a reason for that. you know so I probably didn't need 10-foot fences, although if I had a big horse that was as wild as Flower, I would need a 10-foot fence.
Hmm.
Or I would need a situation where I could be around her multiple times a day. Certainly, it would have been easier without Revlon in there. That made it take longer. I had some trips in there. Um, uh, I am very glad that she got to be with Revlon because it made her life so much better while I wasn't around. If she was at my house, she would basically be in a herd, even if she was in a pen. You know what I mean? So if I couldn't be there for 2 or 3 days, it wouldn't be like she would be all alone.
Hmm.
So those are some of the different setups. Just that I would be able to have spent a little bit more time, and that wouldn't have been had to be quite so cautious. Now it's going to be cool because Debbie and I are going to set up a round pen inside and a smaller one inside that will be safe. Also, the animal is toned down quite a bit because, again, if she was wild, big horse, we don't have the capacity to set something up that would be safe enough to hold them.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I would basically get to this point is the only thing. I would get to this point, but I probably would have pressed it a little bit more if I had realized I was going to run into this tag deal. And I wouldn't be trying to cramp. If we had had an ice storm or something like that right now, and I couldn't get there for 10 days or something, bad deal. And she's also, I would just say, I will the next time around too, I will have a better understanding about how wild something can be. Seriously, because it's like that has not been my experience. Now I know that that's possible, right? And she also could be super much more dangerous and aggressive. She's not dangerous or aggressive I mean, she's not aggressive in that way. I've never dealt with something that was trying to kill you. And she's not. She's just trying to get away, you know. So, it's been really interesting. And she's hard to crack open too. Um like to really get through to her to turn loose. I would.
Oop, someone's calling you.
Mhm. Which is annoying because it's like you guys can't keep track of Thursday mornings. Come on. You don't care about my schedule at all.
Um, it's all about you. Um,
Oh, it's a little bit about me.
a little bit about me. Crap, what was I just gonna ask? Hmm.
Cracking her open, turning her loose. Like,
Yeah. Okay, so how much do you feel like the wildness is inhibiting the cracking or open? Probably. I mean, that's
I
maybe
don't really, I
maybe a
guess
dumb question.
I don't have enough experience to really know that answer, I guess. I mean, I've never been around, particularly for this long. I've been around some at my friend Lisa's that were pretty freaking wild, but it's not something I have worked with on a regular basis. The thing that flour does not have is an innate, you know how we always comment on how extraordinary it is that horses and mules, feather for sure, want to be with us, want to please us, innately really love that feeling, you
Mhm.
know? Like why would it be that I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. Why would it be that that Revlon likes it when I kiss her nose? It's so then she's like, "Do it again," you know? And, like, flour has none of that. Um, well,
It'll be interesting to see how that evolves. I
I
would
uh,
say, I want to say if, but I'll just say how because
yeah,
that isn't a very distinct. I don't know if I'd say unique, but distinct
yes,
characteristic of some horses.
yeah, yeah, and, so this is where I was saying, if it wasn't an emergency and there wasn't the stress of, like, this does have to get done in a timely manner, otherwise I will be the talk of the and also, my horses are in Debbie's way, which is a bummer, and she's been so cool about it. Um, if those 2 factors were not this would be the time of my life. This would be the best thing ever. Coolest thing, I don't know the answers, I'm not for sure I can do it, I don't know for sure how it's gonna turn out, like, this is the ultimate situation. I would get myself into this situation over and over and over again if I could. It's the best. Uh, I mean so any of you guys that look at the list and feel that way, you're welcome. Because I can guarantee you
What
the
accent was that?
That was Marissa Tomei from, what was the name of that movie, you guys?
I don't know. Sounded like sort of New Yorkish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're welcome. How so you guys, somebody will know what the name, My Friend Vinny, maybe? Something like that. She was great in that. She's amazing. If you ever listen to this, Marissa, you made a huge impact on bazillion people. So cool. Freaking awesome. She's still cool. She was in The Big Short a few years ago, and she had a small part. It was really good. Anyway, yeah, Michael. So
Lisa said my
my
cousin Vinny.
my cousin Vinny.
um, and Michelle said my experience with my donkey has been very interesting because they're so different than horses intellectually. I imagine a mule is so different from a horse in a similar fashion.
Yeah, the only thing is the difference between feather and flower is still has the difference in the mule horse characteristics for sure. Um, Debbie and I were watching Flower trot trot around yesterday. She goes from her horse trot to her donkey trot. You're like, wow, it's so crazy to get to see those things. But they're so different. Like I would say, taming Feather was very similar. She was much more similar to Revlon than she has been to, or than Flower has been to her. So, for whatever that's worth. And it's so, I mean, like there's just so much cool data. Do I have my little video? No, I don't. Sometimes these go across, sometimes they don't. I mean, like I had the ball out for Revlon, looking at the list. Um, and Flower's like, me too, me too, me too. She comes, she comes right up to the ball, licking the ball, playing with the ball. But is she gonna let me walk up to her and pet her face? Nope. Nope.
Maybe,
Absolutely
maybe
not.
you should. This is so stupid. I shouldn't be saying it. Maybe you should get one of those green suits and just walk out there and hang out in a green suit. See if she comes and says hello. See, that was so dumb. Why did I say that? It crosses my mind. I gotta spit it out.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing, and like it's figuring out how to not be a direct line thinker, to bear in mind all the qualities. And can you guys help me understand what the panic is about rushing through the experience? I really struggle to understand that. Again, I'm not looking to get out of horses anytime soon. I'm not looking
Um,
to finish this
I
up
think it is general impatience. Um, there are a lot of people who are don't like being observed learning something. They'd rather just look competent or be competent in something. And I think another one is um, identity and uh, yeah, as soon as it becomes part of your identity, um, and it it defines you in a way, or your ability to do or not do what you consider part of your identity is reflected on your value. I think that's a big piece of it that comes up for people.
Mhm. That makes sense. I have
But
that with other things, you
what's
know.
odd? Go ahead.
I just have that with other things.
Hmm.
I'm a realtor, and so the way I handle a transaction is very important to me. and to be really good at it. And yeah, I've certainly have that in other things for sure, for sure. And it's not okay with me to be, I mean, not.
Figuring it out as you go along.
Yeah, yes, yes. Or like, you know, we were talking about being a doer. Who was talking to me? Or I can't remember. But getting your identity from doing things, and then maybe being in a situation where you can't, maybe because you're hurt or something like that, and then your your identity is kind of hashed on. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's true. Debbie said the same thing. Lisa and Debbie were working with a horse. They say it's similar. Um, yeah, Debbie said the same thing. The thing about Flower, and maybe it's the same as this other horse, it's like just kind of being a coyote and getting out of the way and work. But that's the only thing with Flower is that the danger level is pretty freaking high because I mean she has and would kick your brains out, really hurt. And if you put her in a bind too much, she will defend herself like that. And horses will do that too. This is just more. It looks like the video. You remember, you guys, the video where the lady was kind of standing in front of her horse trying to expose it to something, and it just went right over the top of her pine or like that. Or a video, we've seen videos with horses in the chute where they're trying to brand them or something, and that's what it's like. So I don't know, is maybe that's the same as that horse, but the stakes are high. Like, I have to change her mind in order for this to be safe for me to even get close enough to try. Now, having her come up and get close, I mean, she would be breathing on me. That's how close and a draw and all the stuff. But if I'm going to force something on her before she gives me the green, before she turns loose, the danger level is very high. You can't fuck it up. You can't make a mistake. Like, the margins are very thin. So I have to get a change. I have to be sure about the change.
How I haven't had a horse come directly out of the pens. Most of my horses I've worked directly out of the wild were not BLM horses with a tag on them. Um,
He offered to take it off.
yeah, and you're like, now
No.
insight, maybe I should have. Um, what? How do you? What kind of material is the tag? Are you cutting it with a scissor or a knife? You untying it?
Yeah, it's a little cord. You could cut it. You could cut it with scissors. It would cut with scissors. It is absolutely not safe for me to go anywhere near her with the scissors. She's let, she's let me pet her down the neck. I've pet her mane. I've pet her face like this, only on the right side. Only kind of when she was really, I mean, it just wasn't, and there's no freaking way she would let me close to her with the scissors, or like Debbie suggested, like a garden shears, because it has a little bit of a guide there. Or so yes, you can cut it off, but also it runs through. Here, I'll show you. Hang on just a second. You talk for a second.
um, so Lisa said, while you're there, Flower sounds like the Lucy mare that Debbie and I have been working with, getting more and more curious, but still wanting to be still not wanting to be touched. Um, which Emma already had read, I think. But then she said, "Well, Lucy is at the rescue because she kicked the crap out of the gal who fostered her. She's not a kicker, but she's fearful, so defended herself. Debbie and I are cautious."
Yeah, and every horse will do that. Even your broke horses will do that, given the right circumstances. Okay, so this is what the tag looks like, Michael. So it comes like this. Okay, I think feathers or flowers is 8101. This is Revlon's. So the little tag. So see, like you could cut it, but it's not just gonna fall apart. Like these
What
stay.
is it? Is it
And
like
then
nylon rope? Is it like a lariat rope?
no, it's no. I wouldn't. No, it's a cotton.
cotton rope, okay.
Yeah.
And how is it? So it's
So
just pushed through there, it's not actually tied?
so
That
it's
metal piece?
like this, yeah. So this is metal,
Yeah,
and then you see this one. This is the side I didn't undo. So let's imagine, because this is where her
throw that.
jugular, yeah. And so if she lets me get up to it like this, I'll be able to work it. Can you guys see? Like I'm just saying one-handed.
You
I would
think so? That
sort
does not look like it's gonna work through there very easily,
no, it
given
won't.
how long it's been on there.
Which exactly, which is why she's gonna have to let me go up to her with two hands. This is what I'm guessing is gonna happen because I don't think the ability to get there with scissors or a knife is going to end up safer than this. Like when she lets me, because of course she'll either side, right? But then the two hands is a big deal, right? So when she can let me, pet her and have two hands like this, she's already let me play with the tag. So she's not having a meltdown about having that thing moved. She does still have a meltdown about the rope around her throat latch, but less so all the time. So then by the time I get up there to this, then I'll be able to take the time to work it through. And even, but yeah, I mean, look, it's going to take a little bit here, right? You got to pull this end through and then work it like this, right? So yeah, it's no joke. And then, yeah, can you imagine that on a touchy thing? And once I get to here, so you can either do two things, and I just want to leave this one on here so I don't have to rethread it. But I could pull this one here, and then go out faster. Or like if I get to here and can just do this, then
Oh,
I'll
yeah, and then pull it over her mule ears? That sounds like a
no,
great
but
idea.
just give her a little bit of space so she.
Oh, I see. I see, yeah.
Yeah, just
Leave the tag on, but yeah.
I mean, but it just a lot of times this has been my experience and I've seen other people do it. Once the animal is going to let you get close enough to really mess with that, um, you're going to be good. But I am not going to be in a situation where I'm too proud to cut it off if that ends up being a safe option.
So what
I will.
certainly not if you're willing to dart her, cutting
Well,
this.
I mean, I have to take her welfare into account.
Yeah, I know. I'm not saying you shouldn't, um, but cutting it
If
off
I
is
get it off like this, you guys, I'm going to cry. It'll be such a huge deal.
um,
Then I put their little name on it.
you did? Or they did?
Well, I do. I do. I just because like I'm sure these numbers get recycled too. But this particular it's like a cow tag, right? I don't know.
Mhm.
Thank God he loosened it. I mean, and she's rearing and trying to climb over the thing when he loosened it while she was in the chute. He's on the top.
So
Yeah.
what, um, so when you say the rope around her neck, have you had a rope on her, or you just clipped it onto her
I haven't
tag,
clipped it
or
on
what?
the string. I've been tossing the string. She got really good about the string over her back. She didn't really mind it around her hind legs. But think about it, because I haven't thrown a rope at her because I can't commit that far, right? But she will let me get close and she'll let me get close enough to rub her with the stick too. But that's not going to get me to where I can get to this.
So
you know.
what did she freak out about the rope over her pole initially,
Mhm.
but
She
now she doesn't?
it's better. It's
Can you
better.
move the hindquarters off of that?
No, not yet. Because I don't have any
But
way
you're
to
getting the rope around her hind legs? Holy, you
just
said the rope
but
around
just
her legs?
string,
Yeah, but
Michael, just the string around her throat latch. So I have no way to like grab it
no,
from a
but you said her legs.
yeah, she's fine with it around her legs.
Wow. I don't know that I would have tested that out outside of having a good control of the front end if she can which she can because she's a mule, wheel and kick that easily.
Oh yeah, and she totally she would if she didn't
So
have a if
why
she,
in heaven's name or how did you feel safe enough to get that down around legs?
remember when she was in that little chute? Remember when she would go into that chute and stand still because she was real careful?
I
Yeah,
didn't see
there's a little chute between the round pen and going into the stall in the big arena. And when she was littler, she could go in there and turn around, and that's where she wanted to be. So I kind of used that for a few times just because it was a bit protected. I could only get to her to one side, but um and also going away, you could kind of tell that she got over the hindquarters pretty quickly. But this only going to get you so far. By the time she'll let you stand just far enough away that you can throw it, over her back and kind of flip it behind her, that's not going to get you, not going to get you all the way to the dance.
So you can't reach under and grab the string though?
No,
Okay.
not yet. Closer all the time. Closer all the time. But, but what I think I'll do when we shorten because we'll put up a smaller pen in the arena now. And what I'll probably do is just keep chipping away at that. And I might because the other thing that's happening now in terms of like as this timeline is converging is the round pen is outside and it's super sandy, which is really nice, but that's not something I'm going to be trying to work with ropes. I even had to switch my savvy string, because when it's light and slippy, you know but when it gets muddy and draggy, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But so inside I think probably I'll end up throwing the 22-foot line over her till she gets that just a little bit more mellow, and then I'll probably run it through the ring and just play around with that, flip it around. I can crawl on the fence too and play with all of that stuff from
The
the fence, throw out my glass.
the finer line or the thicker?
The thicker one.
And
Just
why
because,
not just use elastrope for that?
yeah, it's gonna be a little small in where I'm gonna put it. And I think I'm gonna mess around with that first. And then if I end up wanting to rope her with the last rope, I'll make the pen bigger again. But we'll see.
Well, I mean 22 versus elastrope. Why not just use the end of the elastrope that doesn't have a Honda or something?
Yeah, you could.
I mean, because the other thing I was thinking is toss the coils. As
Yeah.
long as you can get her good at that, toss the coils over her back and then
Hmm. Hmm.
drive her front end away and then pick up the rope that's on the ground and now you have it around her neck. I mean,
And I could rope her with the last rope too. I totally could rope her with the last
well,
rope.
except the roping with the last rope, then you are fully committed and you said you're not sure.
Exactly. And that's the thing. And then the other thing is if she gets tangled up in the last rope, I think that well, I know her potential to get hurt, like if I fuck it up, is like I've seen that happen with Gary a million times, but he knows how to run that thing so that he can unwrap the most dramatic of pickles. I don't have the so if she gets bound up, she could get burned or hurt or whatever. Versus like if she has a brand new 22-foot line, yachting braid, she's not going to get into trouble. She could do pretty much anything. She could jump over a fence and be fine. So that's my reasoning with that. But I'll probably play with both, I think, until she's just really, really committed and really then I'll just decide from there, I think. you know? But just kind of getting her turned loose with everything more. And then I would just say any which way I think it's going to work the fastest, that's probably the one I'll take. In the sense that I want to get it off, right? So I'll worry. I mean, she has most of it. She has the hindquarters. What she doesn't have is the feel of the rope around her throat latch, drawing her front quarters towards me. But I have to say this, all the things that she and I have been doing over the last week are things I would have to do anyway off the end of the last rope. So we're much farther down the line. And also just getting her quieter in general, because no matter what you had around her throat latch, if she didn't start to calm down and turn loose, it wouldn't be, it's not like you're going to get any safer up close to her. That was, you know, it was all going to have to calm down before there was going to be any draw or any reaching towards her, because as you know, there's no real holding the animal to you, the front quarters, if they really want to go away, which of course is the value of being horseback in a 55-foot round pen or 50-foot round pen is your ability to kind of get around them and not be in the situation where you don't have, you can still get your horse kicked, but you do have a lot more play. And I'll tell you this right now, you or Gary or Buck would all be like, I'm getting my saddle horse. For it's tricky. It's a bit tricky, you know? But I really am not convinced that roping her until things toned down this much, they would have toned down faster probably. But they still had to get to this place. And we'll see. I mean, I don't know. Because here's the thing, she does not want, like, not only does she not want me to touch her, but touching her nose in particular, still today, I would say, would cause her to turn and kick me. There's just not enough latitude. Now, what will happen, this is my guess, is what will happen is once I can get the last rope or um, the 22-foot line around her neck, and that's the difference. Also, good point in the last rope versus the 22-foot line is I will easily be able to reach my carrot stick under her neck and unthread that thing. Versus if the last rope,
Unthread what thing?
I'm going to run it through a ring.
Oh,
Um, So I guess I could just have an open loop. That's what you're saying with the last rope. Yeah. Yeah. So just harder to manage that a little bit. Um, but maybe that
I
will totally.
mean, I
Yeah.
mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of the fact that, like you said, the 22-foot line would not burn her up that much, you'd have less of a chance of getting her in trouble. Ooh, excuse me. Um, you could. I mean, I have a uh, not a stick, but a handle for a flag that I have the
Has
loop
a
opened up
button.
and yeah. So I mean, you can do that with your last rope too. I've done that
Mhm.
plenty of times. It's like we're
I
not going
don't
to get
have
in there.
one. Yeah, I don't have one right now, and I don't have a flag handle that I'm willing to sacrifice right now. But yeah, it's something that someone who's doing this regularly should definitely have a hook. Like, there's no question. I would even told Debbie, I'm like, well, don't let me forget, we need a knife and a gun around, like not at the house, but like here. Um, but the chances of that happening with the 22-foot line are really, really low. But this is what I think is going to happen. Once I get her confident, a little bit more with things around her head, and especially when I can flip the string around her head, around her ears, and pet her with the stick, of course. Then being able to draw her towards me with the rope around her throat latch. Then I think she's gonna let me pet her on her cheek a little bit more intentionally, switch sides, do the same thing, and then it will be over her head between her pole, and probably that's, I mean, I just don't envision being able to even handle her muzzle at all. I just need to get that tag off.
Their
But
response to the rope can be quite interesting too.
Mhm.
Like like you said, when they first feel the steady pressure on their hip, they can kind of just lean into it. And so that's it's always a fun one when they are pretty resistant like that. The first time you put a little draw in there, their initial response is, "Oh, okay, now I'm really gonna haul
It,
ass the other way,"
mhm.
mentally at least. Mhm.
The thing about her is watching her once she's exposed, uh, she gets through it pretty quickly. It's just been really quite quickly. It's just I haven't been able to hang in there long enough in some of these things. Like even if I could just hang in there a little bit more, it would go. She'll get it. What I had with flour and Revlon that I just don't have with her is there's no draw. Like real true spiritual and emotional draw where she wants to reach out and touch me. She kind of did actually, now that I think about it, when she was in that little chute and I was holding on to the fence, like I was just kind of standing there and I had my hand around the fence, then she did want to touch me. But in terms of that'll be a huge deal when she's interested and curious enough. Again, I'll say way back in the beginning, she did reach out and touch me and she did let me touch her whiskers, but none of it was because she really wanted to.
How did that take
She's
place?
curious enough. It was just like, "Oh, I'm going to check you out." But it wasn't like, "Oh, hey, this feels really good to me."
Mhm.
And anyway, so I think that's how it's going to go.
So
Yesterday, I would just say one other tiny thing is yesterday, like being able to flip the string over her from her right side over her left side around her throat latch. And then she does just draw into it. Now, that's one thing when she doesn't have to. What were you going to say?
so how much have you driven her around the pen asking for a little bit more effort? And obviously that's not going to create this like heart connection right off the bat where it's like she wants you, but to where
A good amount, I would say. And also being able to swing the string over my head and switch it to hula hand, as she changes direction, having her change direction through the middle, having her come like a freaking laser towards me and end up like, 2
so
feet from me.
so you have created a draw in that sense, you know.
Mhm. I had that right away at Liberty. I taught her that right away at Liberty. Doing it under pressure with the string, but it doesn't take that long once you can get to it. It was just I had to baby the situation so much for a few different reasons that I couldn't get through to the other side. But once she, like I said, once she's exposed, she knows how to do it. She's still moving away from pressure and kind of finding the sweet spot, but it's not, and I guess it is reinforcing, and I guess to some degree she's sort of kind of feeling it. And she loves it. Like she comes right up to you when you're in the pen. She wants to walk up to somebody that's on the other side of the pen. One of my friends, who shall remain nameless, gave her some grass. you know so it's just,
If you just give her grass, Emma, it'll be a lot quicker.
I'm guaranteeing you it would not do it. But you could,
Right?
I
You can
suppose.
have grass in this hand and use your other hand to work that loose.
It is possible, that clicking and treating her would get there faster. I'm not convinced though, because anybody who's done a lot of clicker training knows that it doesn't work in every case. Um, I'm not going to try it. So, and it's not because I have not done it before. Like, if only you knew the power, you would do it. No, I don't think I need to. That first of all, and I think that I want to do it without, if possible. Also, that would take time. It would take time to get her used to eating something. I probably don't even have the time to do that, even if I wanted to. Um, Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Just rest assured, if you're listening, yes, I've done that. And yes, I understand that you can get horses to do some pretty amazing things by doing that. Um, anyway, so I think that's how it's going to go. We're going to do Saturday, Sunday, Monday, probably. And yesterday was a really good day for us. It was our last dry day in the round pen. But oh my gosh, Michael, I feel so retarded because trying to keep it out of the off the ground, the amount of like stutter steps that you have to do to try to catch that string. or or like flipping it in a way that you're like trying not to get it to hit the ground. It's like
just so it doesn't get dirty and heavy and yeah.
unfeely too
Ah.
quick. Yeah. So that is my flower story. I'm really excited. I mean, like I said, if it wasn't for the emergency and being in Debbie's way, I would be having the time of my life. So we'll see. Maybe I'll be holding this next week, you guys. If not next week, it has to be the week after.
Um, what other show can you have someone dangling a BLM tag and be talking about Passagi steps and saying, just remind me, Debbie, when we go out there, let's not forget the knife and the gun, just in case. What other world would we be talking about all these things?
Gotta be real.
Not that many.
Yeah. It's not gonna, don't worry, you guys. I
I
don't
know,
think it's
no.
gonna come to either of those things, but and the knife is not
There, nevertheless, you
as
said it, right?
yeah, but because here's the thing. I've seen enough and I've seen situations that worked out because the person that was in that situation had skills I don't have
Mhm.
and has set it up in a way that I don't have. I mean, some of the people that we know would not be doing this stuff without a saddle horse. They
Mhm.
just would not, and there were just so we're doing this all in the but being naive about what could happen is not a trait of mine typically. So just have to be real, but it's not going to come to that. Everything's going just fine, and it probably will go just fine. It'll be one of the best stories ever. And someday, when she's letting me scratch her ears, and she's just like, oh, like this, then everyone can celebrate with me. Be like, remember when she thought she might have to shoot her or dart her? It'll be so nice to know that if there was some sort of accidentally having her loose on the highway. I mean, she wouldn't get to the highway because she's sticky enough to Revlon now. But just knowing you can doctor them and it's like, come on, we got to get over this here. So it'd be pretty fun. Thank goodness I have the time and the weather is good enough that I can definitely get over there. And I won't put Debbie in this pickle ever again. And it'll be a great story. But what if I was worried about getting through a list? Or worried that like it's taken me all this time and other people do XYZ. Like, who cares? I'm just trying to learn more, collect more data. I need to stay safe. My animal needs to stay safe, which includes getting her tag off before she grows into it. Um, and that's it. What else is there? Fun.
Fun, fun.
Yep. Okay, you guys. Well, thanks for being here on this first show of December 2025. We only have a couple more shows before the end of the year.
Mhm.
Holy jeez. So, Michael and I will see you next Thursday morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
8:30 Central.
Bye, everybody.